4, 3,
Three,
2,
two,
1.
one.
All right. You're listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is Tuesday, October 17th, and we are covering the Seoul Cup and OGN Season 4 action in Korea. So you're gonna have to forgive me, Jax, but first off, I didn't queue up the sound this time, so my bad on this
Okay.
episode. But uh, why don't we talk about this week, Jax? First
Lepelos,
off,
what is there to talk about? It's so short.
it
There's
is
nothing
very
going
short.
on.
There is not a lot going on, Jax. I feel like that's the podcast. We're done. Um,
I mean, see, Lepelos is joking, but like literally 20 minutes ago, I'm saying to myself as I was trying to eat something, I was like, "What? I don't really have much to talk about here." OGN very underwhelming. Contenders is over, Lepelos. OPC is over. OPS is over. Campeonato Brasileiro, we already know what happened there. ALG,
yeah,
we already
nothing.
know what happened there.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's definitely going to be short, and we're not out of the short podcast yet, Jax. I mean, this one's short. Next week we have a couple of things after the World Cup, though. I think there's going to be another break. That's going to be mid-November again. So in about a month's time, we're going to have another very light broadcast as well.
we'll
Then too.
probably have, I think I just mentioned on the pregame. For those who aren't aware, twitch.tv/Lepelos. We have a little pregame while we're setting things up around 9 Pacific on Tuesday, 10 Pacific on Tuesday.
If
And
you
I think
if you paid attention this time, you would have caught pretty much everything we're going to say in the podcast in the pregame.
well, the
but-
Cliff Notes version.
the Cliff Notes, the Cliff Notes version.
I mean, but we talk about things. See, we try to avoid drama on the podcast. So in the pregame and the postgame is when we cover some of the drama that's going on in professional Overwatch, or we just express
our
our
views.
own thoughts. Which are
we don't want to include that stuff in the podcast. I mean, listen, everyone's got an opinion that goes and comments on the threads about this stuff. Me and Jax, I don't think we comment on the threads a lot, but we do talk about it. But that's sort of secondary to what we're doing here, which means when we have weeks like this, Jax, very limited stuff for us to talk about when it comes to actual in-game action. We are focused on Korea this week, where there is two things taking place. We had the Seoul Cup, which was, listen, 4 teams, Jax. One of the teams definitely not of the level of the other three.
I was so let down, Lepelos, by LGD not showing up. I really wanted to see LGD. If not LGD, I would have liked to have seen 1246. I mean, congrats, Lucky Future. They got exposure. Sadly, it was not the best exposure.
Yeah.
But the
expose
other
their
thing,
weaknesses, you might say, but
is speaking about LGD and them pulling out of the Seoul Super Cup match here.
Yeah.
Is Eileen and Undead, Lepelos. They're out of Team China.
That's incredible because you consider like how they performed in the group stages of World Cups, and those two players being a key portion of that. Interesting that they'd be removed from that team going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm pasting a link in the Twitch chat right now, and I mean, it's okay. So they lose 4 members of LGD. They lose Eileen, Undead, Shy, and MG, and I'm just left wondering at this point, Lepelos. They pull out of, I guess it's kind of drama, but they pull out of the Seoul Cup. They pull out of the World Cup now, and to be honest, World Cup, that's pretty important. Like representing your country. A lot of people put. They have a lot of pride in that, Lepelos.
Yeah, and if we're talking about stats too, from at least English viewership, there was a post a week ago or so talking about viewership in the World Cups have seen some of the largest viewership too. So pulling out of that is huge.
So I'm left wondering with what's going to happen with the LGD. I'm assuming at this point I can only assume that if I'm the Shanghai Dragons, right? I'm going to sign MY. I mean, maybe we'll see more after APAC next week or the next 2 weeks. But
what other team do you sign? Like, if you're going to keep it within China, you've got to find a Chinese team. What team is better than the team that's been dominating the region?
I would take the full MY roster. I would probably poach a few players. Like, I'm not up to completely up to date on the Chinese scene. I'm pretty sure they'll poach a few people
Yeah.
from some of these other teams. And for me, I'm left wondering about China like I am OGN. You're losing your best. And what does that leave you with? Because LGD here is already looking like they're crumbling, Lepolos. That takes LGD out. That takes MY out. That leaves 1246, who struggled in the regular season, but did good in the playoffs. And
Yeah, Clutch Masters at the end of the season
we'll
again.
see.
And
We'll see.
and Vici Gaming maybe, Jax, like also another
VG
team
Gaming,
that's like up and down. Like we know they're up and down, but they're inconsistent, but they're consistently in the middle. Does that make sense? So I don't know. The long and short of it is when you create a Premiership league, Jax, you relatively lower the skills in all of the individual leagues that were formerly the Premier Leagues, right? So you created a new layer. Everything below that layer is now second tier. That's just
Okay, so
that's just the nature of it.
I'm actually reading this World Cup thread, and these Reddit detectives, dude, they put in work, and it's looking as if some of this might not be the full roster, and some of it might. Who knows? I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks at the World Cup. But I'm just gonna say I hope that the Team China we saw in the qualifier stages is the team that shows up here, because they were pretty damn good. And I guess I will leave it at that. We'll see. Because, like I said, they got conflicting reports here. You've got translations of Chinese, which I'm not good at all, Lepolos.
You can't speak
And,
Chinese. I can't speak Chinese either, Jax. I'll be
I
honest.
mean, I could pass it off to Tosilok in chat here. He is our resident linguist. He handles these kinds of things. I don't know if China is part of his deal or not. But I guess we spent enough time trying to fill Lepolos. Let's jump into
Yeah, right.
OGN Seoul Cup Supermatch.
Okay, we've already talked about this, Jax. Why don't we just break down the first match here between Cloud9 and Cloud9, Kongdu, and Lucky Future,
Okay.
because we basically said Lucky Future, sort of out of their element here, taking on some hard competition. And Jax, it pretty much was that
Dominant.
through and through.
Absolutely dominant. Lepolos. Ilios 2-0, Cloud9 Kongdu, Kings Row 3-0, Cloud9 Kongdu, Horizon Lunar Colony 1-0. This is a single elimination tournament. Lepolos, Lucky Future is out. We hardly got to see them.
Yeah, they in that short time though, Jax. Let's be honest, they tried to show 177 as much as they could on the TV cameras, as per gamers culture everywhere, unfortunately. Anyways, we're not getting into that. That's just sort of my side comment.
You're opening some doors we want to keep closed there, Lepolos.
Jax, you might say this is closing doors and
Lepolos.
Placing a glass ceiling.
We'll go to the other semi-final match where we have plenty to talk about. Miraculous Youngsters, who we've just been talking about from China, and Lunatic High, or soon-to-be Team Seoul. I think this was the last tournament in which they would operate under the Lunatic High banner. I think they go Team Seoul from here on out. After this tournament is complete,
or at least this portion of Lunatic High.
What a match it was, Lepolos. I mean, yes, there is Lunatic High too.
Yes,
that
match
this was.
This was definitely, in my recent memory, my favorite match that I can think of. Like, can you think of anything in the last month or even 2 months that really stands out in the quality of play that this one did? This is like the show match, in my opinion, of Overwatch in the current meta or current age right now. Like, I can't think of one that was so close and so interesting. I might even have to go back to season 2 of OGN Apex.
I'm looking at this show match, Lepolos, and I'm once again forced to go back the previous weekend to Contenders Finals, and I have to say, why did we not get Envy versus Gigante? When you put winners, and even though Lunatic High is not, progressing to the finals of OGN, they were the previous season 3 winners. Okay, so fine, they have a place here. It's Lunatic High. Their pedigree gets them into these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Why would you not? Why do we not have more of this? Why would Blizzard not want to showcase, the Western version of this with the winner of NA versus EU? Because this was a fantastic series, Lepolos. You had the in-game action. You also had the drama because of how it all played out, and this is what you want going into the Overwatch League. You want these grand show matches or showcases like this, Lepolos, that brings people in. And
the top tier talent, maybe unlike APAC, which is not top tier talent, to be honest.
I mean, APAC, we'll see.
It's still good. Like I'm still interested in it, but like, if you got like the top team, if like okay, Jax, we have the OPS winner, we
Right.
have the OPC winner, we have the OGN winner, we have the NA and EU contender winners. We're gonna have Campeonato Brasileiro winner at some point, Jax. Uh,
That's
sorry.
8 weeks away if I had to guess. Buffaloes.
Okay, that one's a little bit of a joke, but my point here is you could have all the top teams from all these different regions compete in a similar invitational, and that would be a
The thing
massive.
for me, I mean, I get part like I think Nate Nanzer said in a Reddit post, one of the few that he's made, is that they didn't want to invite people who had members going into the World Cup. Even though Coach Kai Kai from Envy said they would have taken the invite, even though Chipsegen is on the roster for Team Sweden. He says I'm pretty, Envy is always most of the time down, especially since they would have to spend 2 months in China like they
Yeah.
do when they go for OGN. But I look at this match between MY and Lunatic High, and I look at APAC, and I'm saying, you just said the thing, what it could have been, Leplos, because actually no, I just want to say I'll say this for our APAC preview, but
Yeah.
I just literally happened to click the link, and I'm looking at the teams who are here, Leplos, and MVP Space, AF Blue, really? They get invites from Korea? Really,
I
Lepelos?
mean, as I said, it's
Come
definitely not the
on,
premier
man.
level. It's
Where
like
is
I'm still
C9
interested.
Kong doing Lunatic High,
They
Lepelos?
probably can pay them enough, maybe. I don't know. I listen.
Lepelos, please.
That honestly might be part of it. Like like the tournament organizers might have a certain limit to the money that they're willing to spend on teams coming through, and Lunatic
Lepelos.
High and
The
they,
the first place team of this tournament gets $91,000.
okay. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know why. Maybe because they want to highlight Chinese Overwatch at the APAC and not have another Western or Korean team win. But
Well, that being said, Lepelos, let's start out with MY versus Lunatic High on Lijiang Tower. And
heck of a fight, Jax. Close rounds, all of them, pretty much.
I
If I
mean,
remember.
starting out, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. So this is being played on the I don't know if it's the absolute current patch, but a newer patch than what's on OGN. So
I think it was if I'm not if
was
I'm
it the
not
old patch?
mistaken, I think it was I don't think it was it definitely didn't have the Diva missiles, right, man? So
Right. No, it did not have Demon
so
missiles.
it's definitely at least one patch behind. I think it was the old patch though. The old patch. It's confusing when they.
It's getting okay. It's just getting like you have all these tournaments being played on so many different patches. But basically, what I was trying to say is you didn't know what kind of practice time each like take C9 Kong do, right? They have this tournament, and then a few days afterwards, levels they go back to their main OGN bronze place game, right? And we already know that one what patch that one is on. And
Yeah.
it's like these teams can't prepare on multiple patches. It's not really possible. So coming into this match between MY and Lunatic High, I was you didn't know what to expect because you didn't know what kind of preparation these teams would have. Combine that, Leplos, I guess we can't really talk about Lunatic High unless we talk about the roster changes that have happened, or I should say roster additions. Previously I go on quite a bit about seeing Lee Tae-jun on this team because I just don't think he's good enough to play for Lunatic High. And here, Leplos, we had no Lee Tae-jun, we had no Eska, we had no Guido, we had Who Are You, and we had Fleta, formerly of Flash Lux Lepelos, on the DPS
Yeah.
for the Takai with Miro and Zephyr, formerly of Cloud9, for the tanks, and Toby and Ryu Jae-hung on the supports.
Yeah, a strong change up, and I think a positive change up to the Lunatic High roster, and one I think most people agree probably would have performed better in the OGN League uh, rather than what they had at the time when they got kicked out twice by GC Busan and 3 O's. Here,
DC Boost. I
Jax,
mean,
the, their
so
their DPS. I mean, this is a straight upgrade. I have to be honest, it is.
the deep see, so the problem, I guess it's not really a problem, but the thing that saddens me is I go back to rules now because I look at this Lunatic High lineup, and I'm saying, wow, this is pretty good. And then we come to the beginning of Overwatch League levels and Team Soul, and I can already tell you it won't have Who Are You on it because he's too young. Who Are You is too young to play in Overwatch League.
Yeah.
So as good as this team is, I know I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, crap, they take out Who Are You, who are they going to put in? I mean, they brought in Munchkin Leplos, which who I think we see later on. They still have Guido, Eska, and Lute Jun on the payroll, and I don't know, man. I just I keep wanting to see the absolute best, and there's always something that keeps getting in the way. Whether it's Blizzard not literally not letting them play, or visa issues, or in this case, age restrictions. But there's no age restrictions here at Leplo, so we get to see Fleda and Who Are You, very dynamic DPS duo. But on the other side, for DPS duos, Lepelos from Miraculous Youngsters, I can't really say that it's a downgrade. You have Yang Zhao. God, what's it?
And
I'm so bad with the names of those.
I think that's correct. Like Yang
Can I
Zhao.
call him Yang Zhao and just roll with that? Is that okay?
That's as close as we're gonna pronounce it. Our apologies for the correct pronunciation, but we'll call it Yang Zhao.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yang Zhao, and the other DPS. Well, since you're so good at names levels, I'll let you do
Well,
the
the other
pronunciation.
DPS is simply leave, so I
Yeah.
can do that. one.
So for me, I knew they were good, but it's the same. It's the Flash Wolves symptom where you see them dominate OPC and then they come up against this international competition and a little bit of a letdown. And here, you start out on Lijiang, you start out on the Garden Lepelos, and I'm looking at this incredible McCree play out of Zhang and Zhang Zhao, and I'm like, where did this guy come from? I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it, right? I've seen it in OPS, but now he's doing it against Lunatic High.
He's hit some consistent shots, not just like one here and there. It was like a number in a row, and that's what you really need on McCree. Like even more than hitting those headshots is got to be consistency with your shots.
It was funny because the casters come out saying that Lunatic High has never really had this Pharah, and now they've got Fleta who can play Pharah. So he comes out on the Pharah Lepelos. After the first fight, he's off Pharah. He went Genji.
Yeah, immediately.
Because Zhang is just doming him. And, I was like, okay. And so you go through the Garden phase, and ultimately, Lunatic High take the Garden. But for me, MY was the better team. Zephyr, random, I'm saying again, random 3K self-destruct Lepelos gets them the point back, right? Then further on in the round where they take it back from MY again, it's another Zephyr random self-destruct that kills Zhang on the McCree. Once the raid boss was dead, Lunatic High had no problem taking the point back and closing out the round. But then you go through the rest of Lijiang, you go through the Night
Control
Market.
Center. Well, Control Center
right?
I think was
Yeah,
second.
Control
right?
Center, and then the Night Market Lepelos.
And just
They don't get those. They don't, it doesn't, the dice doesn't roll in their favor. And I'm looking at this incredible DPS out of MY. I'm looking at a very strong tank lineup, very strong support lineup, although I think Lunatic High's is better.
Yeah, I think
And-
sports favored Lunatic High a bit. Although you got to be honest, like the Miraculous Youngsters with Creed on the Lucio and Zhu Fan Jun
Zhu Fan Jun Lepelos
was really
fantastic play out of this guy.
He throughout the match he actually hit a number of amazing sleep darts. It was actually if it wasn't facing Ryu Jae-hung, you'd be like, that's Ryu Jae-hung, right? Yeah, no, these types of matches. This is exactly why I was saying this is like one of the best matches that I've seen over the last few months because it was at a different level, I think, than we're seeing. And Lunatic High played up to that level. But let's keep on talking here. I mean, Miraculous Youngsters taking Control Center back and pretty strongly. Jax 8 basically pushed Lunatic High all the way back to their spawn with a Junkrat, if I remember correctly. And Lunatic High unable to really re-enter as soon as that happened. Like, they looked out of sorts, to be honest, not sure how to break through. And that's a hard position to be in. And Miraculous Youngsters is a strong team. Don't want to have to break through a choke point like that. Night Market, I mean, we didn't see the Junkrat on Night Market, but again, Miraculous Youngsters, very strong round for them overall.
Very back and forth, but with MY taking it. 100 to 99, and so the visiting team Lepelos, because you had to, let's be honest here, the crowd very much behind Lunatic High, and MY comes in and steals the first map. I
Huge.
say steal, but not really. They beat them on that first map, and from there we go to Numbani, and Lunatic High, Numbani kind of their map they've had. Well, against anybody except GC Busan, Numbani has been their map. It's the map that they won the season 3 finals off of versus Kongdu Panthera at the time, now C9 Kongdu, and you go through Numbani Lepelos, and I'm just trying to just kind of generalizing this here, but for me, two things stand out. I've already talked about Leave and Yang Zhao on their fantastic DPS duo. Again, I see more of that here. We talked about Zufan Jun and some of the work that he did Lepelos, but he flexed to the Sombra when they were playing their defense, and Lunatic High did not meet the Sombra check.
Absolutely not. I mean, so badly here that they did not, that they couldn't even capture that A-point, Jax.
Lepelos, they got close, and then it was the kind of last second heroics that you see that you're used to, Lunatic High making, or Envy, where they turn, the fight starts off a little iffy, and then they come back, and you're saying, did Lunatic High really just get full held here? And the answer is yes. Actually, I came into this with doubts, and so watching this, I'm just shocked because I didn't really expect them to be this good. I knew they were good. I just didn't think that they, just say to yourself, okay, they're good, but now they're playing with the big boys and they're not going to cut it.
Yeah.
They cut it very well.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great start for the series for Miraculous Youngsters.
They're up 2-0. This is match point.
Match point. And of course, we have to go to a 2CP, Jax.
Ugh,
2CP, and Lunatic High on defense here. Jax, super quick attack by Miraculous Youngsters come out.
Yeah.
One fight is all it takes to get through that A-point, and that is not good news for Lunatic High.
I thought Lunatic High was on the ropes, Lepelos. Well, they were on the ropes. I thought they were going down.
You gave me a message of rip at that point, Jax, when that happened. And I don't blame you for that. That looked really bad out of Lunatic High. I mean, listen, I know Lunar Colony, A-point, difficult to hold in pro matches, for sure. But you'd still want to at least see some more delay than that. I mean, that's not even like a Torbjorn level of delay, Jax. But in all seriousness, they're in trouble. You've got to be in trouble when you have 7 minutes or 650 or whatever you want to call it to attack that B point. That is difficult position to be placed in if you're Lunatic High. Not only that, you've also given the snowball potential because of the alt charge advantage for Miraculous Youngsters after the first fight win. But Jax, we have to deal with
B point, completely different than A point Lepelos.
Yeah, always in 2CP, man.
To go along with that, and as good as MY was playing, they didn't quite make it.
We talk about finish a lot, Jax, in polish to finish off, or closing, or whatever you want to call it. Here, Miraculous Youngsters had their opportunity. Particularly, I think early they had a decent go at the transfer, but really not able to close out here, Jax, on that B point. And that's not what you want to see.
Very solid play, Lepelos, from Who Are You. This is, for me, is where Who Are You finally woke up. Like the last time we saw Who Are You, it was versus GC Busan, where he was benched, and they brought in Eska in place of him, and coming into this here, I didn't know what to expect from Who Are You. I keep saying this, but I didn't know what to expect from Who Are You, because it was not, I'm used to thinking back to the season 2 finals when the presenter asked, well, who's the best Genji in the world, and he just screams, who are you? And because he was really playing like the best Genji in the world. And so far this season 3, we had that, he got benched, and then season 4 now, I'm looking at his play, I'm thinking, who are you, man? You're not doing too good. And so the first 2 maps come out, I'm thinking, who are you? There's no substitutions here. And I'm thinking Lunatic High is in a little bit of trouble, because Fleeta, for me, we're kind of generalizing here. Fleeta's playing fantastic play through all these maps that they're losing. He's playing really well. He's adding an element, specifically hit scan, that they've lacked. But I'm just not feeling it from Who Are You. And then on the second half here, the B point defense, Who Are You? He wakes up Lepolos, and then they go on the attack, and I'm seeing Who Are You on this Tracer now, and I'm saying to myself, okay, Who Are You can play Tracer. You know, maybe not at effect level yet, Lepolos, but I'm seeing the potential for that to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here he came alive enough in a lot of the mid fights of their defense, and that allowed Lun Takai to end up holding Jax. Let's talk about their attack though. Their attack,
Yeah.
that's they also made it through A point really quickly. They set themselves up here. This is what you need. Like we talk about this is the finishing of Lunatic Kai here. That sense of urgency was there for Lunatic Kai, where it was missing for Miraculous Youngsters, and that proved true on the attack out of Lunatic Kai, as they were able to take that time, the 85% I think it was.
Yeah, 85.
And we're able to make that capture. I mean, it wasn't easy.
Lepolos.
But they still had plenty of time on the clock when they did
It was easy. Yeah, I'm sorry. You have to use the word easy because they finished with 5 minutes and 45 seconds left.
Yeah.
That's easy. 5 minutes and 45 seconds, dude? That's easy.
I mean, this is the nature of TCP. You find a couple opening kills, which, again, Who Are You? Picking off, I think, a couple to open things up.
Yeah.
That's really, and then pulse bomb landed.
We talk about the power of the first pick. You know, it's that simple. And here, Lunatic High, you know, they still have a ways to come back to Lepolos, but it's now 2-1. You're going to Dorado, and I have to say, Lepolos, the casters were telling me about Fleeta being such a great Pharah, Lepolos. Did we see Who Are You on the Pharah? I'm pretty sure we did.
I mean,
they came out with Widowmaker Pharah, Lepolos, and I'm saying this is dangerous. One, because I don't know what to expect from Fleeta's Widowmaker. I don't know, you know, how likely he is to fall into the Widow's trap. You know, that's something there. And two, I'm thinking to myself, Dorado, you know, while it does have some rooftops for Pharah to hide behind, Yang Zhao, I should say, from MY, his McCree has been pretty on point, and I'm saying this is going to be a good test. I'm saying, can they meet the Pharah test that we often talk about here in Lepolos?
Yeah.
And
the interesting combo, though, of the Widowmaker Pharah coming into play here, this looked like very much like a coach strategy, Jax, of a plan, and I think it pays off. I mean, the Widowmaker getting the pick off on the McCree Jax to start, that is defining for the rest of the fight. Let's put it that way.
The pick on the McCree, then I'm giving Zephyr some credit here because I do want to get into Zephyr in a minute. Zephyr gets the self-destruct Lepolos. When I say gets, I mean he launches the self-destruct into the back line, forces the enemy Reinhardt to turn. So the enemy Reinhardt blocks the Diva Shield, then he turns back towards the attackers who are pushing up that hill on Dorado. But you know what happened? The flanking. Pharah, Lepolos, I mean, they knew he was back there, but knowing he's back there and doing something about it is two different things. The McCree was off balance, as you said, because of, you know, the earlier pick and all the stuff that's going on. And at this point, he comes around the corner, Lepolos, barrage. He gets 3K because the Reinhardt is, you know, I can't say he's out of position. It's just he's poorly positioned because of the self-destruct that Zephyr put out. That was planned and coordinated, obviously. He's also had to turn back because the Widowmaker had free shots while he turned his back to block the Diva Bomb. So he had to protect from the Widow. And what is one of Reinhardt's greatest weaknesses, Lepolos? He's got a one-way shield. You know, so he can't protect from all angles. They lose that first point, and from there, Lunatic Guy put in work.
Yeah, I mean, we had Who Are You switching to the Tracer Jax. Different characters coming out. Who Are You doing really good work on that Tracer, actually, as well.
Again, this is why
need some warm-up time, I guess.
So, as well, I won't say as well. Guido, to me, for Season 3, they won with Guido on Tracer. It was just okay. Like, I mean, I'm just being honest here because to be a good Tracer, a great chaser. I'm looking at effect. I'm looking at logics. Right.
Maybe
That's the
profit
level.
too these days.
Yep. Oh, that's the level of things that I'm looking at. And Guido was not producing at that level. He produced levels. To
He
be
was
fair, he
good.
produced.
Yeah.
He did what he had to do to get them that championship for season 3.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at who are you, and I'm saying, why did they have this guy on Genji all the time? I guess because he's the only one who could, right? They
Yeah.
didn't have any other projectile player. Now they have Fleta to help with that levels. And I'm again saying to myself when I'm watching this, I'm saying it's too bad he won't be there in
For the
season
Overwatch
1
League.
Overwatch League levels.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. Lunatic High rolling pretty quickly right through. I don't think they even lost a single fight against Miraculous Youngsters on their attack. I think they basically pushed right through straight to the end on their attack here,
I
putting
mean,
pressure on Miraculous Youngsters to do anything on their attack. And if you look conversely on the Miraculous Youngsters, they did effort to try and make it. They got into the third phase, but Jack's just ultimately not enough to deal with the Lunatic High defense coming out. I don't know what else to say other than, I mean, we can talk in depth about it, but the long and short of it is, good hold on A point ultimately led to the final hold on the ramp of the final point for Lunatic High here on their defense.
yeah, because I was kind of speaking out of turn because MY was on the attack first.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to stick to our normal format where we've been trying to condense things. And I glossed over Miraculous Youngsters attack to focus on
Okay.
Lunatic High's attack because it's that's where the story was for this map, because Miraculous Youngsters made it into the final third, right? But they got held up a little short. I think they had
Yeah.
65.27 meters or something like that. And so it takes me back to Horizon Lunar Colony, where Lunatic High finished Lepelos. They had 5 minutes and 45 seconds left. This time, Lunatic High meets the distance that Miraculous Youngster set, and there was three minutes and 40 seconds left, almost 4 minutes left, and they're meeting the distances that Miraculous Youngsters are setting and having so much time left in the bank. Lepelos. They had a number of tactical pauses that they like to call it, and I don't know what the coach said, but now Lunatic High is woke. Fleta on that Widowmaker Lepelos, they never really forced him off of it as well as I thought they could have. They then leave Lepelos. He did what we don't like. He went counter Widow at one point on defense. It didn't help. How often does counter Widow work, Lepelos?
Very rarely have we seen the second Widow pick work out very well for anyone. In fact, the prime example of why it wouldn't work, just go play on Ruins and be the team that doesn't get the Widow that does, gets the Widow v Widow matchup working for them, right? Like, as soon as you lose those Widow matches on Ruins, if you're the losing Widowmaker, you basically are screwed for the rest of the round.
Good luck pushing back in. I mean, sometimes you
can, yeah, but it's a difficult position to push back, and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
It's even worse on payload. Like we talked about it. I don't remember who it was. We talked about it last week on Hollywood. Someone did it. I think they did it against Envy, and
yes.
Oh, it was Carpe.
Yep.
And Carpe won one fight with his Widowmaker Lepelos, but you have to win every fight, because you know what happened? They won that one fight. You know what Taimu did? He switched off Widow. He went Soldier. He just said, okay, fine, I'll go do something else. And Kareev was left on that Widowmaker, and if you're not able to get those picks every single fight, you're not gonna hold.
Yeah.
They didn't hold here in this situation with Leave unable to get it done. Who are you, Lepelos? Again, fantastic tracer play out of him.
Incredible change when you look at the difference, not only from week to week, but you look from the first two maps of the series. Jackson to Kai bringing it back, like looking all of a sudden like they're the dominant faction, despite getting shut out on Nibani here.
Yeah.
So
this is why
now,
I'm saying this is looking like a completely different team. Again, I think it was in a pregame where we were talking about comms and wanting to be able to get a peek in on those intangibles, because how a team talks and coordinates means so much in professional Overwatch. For those of you who aren't aware, Reinforce gave a really good interview on the Invent Global site Maybe I'll retweet it if you want to find it. But he talks about one of the Misfits' biggest issues being their poor communication. And here, I wish I could see or hear Lunatic High on those first two maps. Not that I speak Korean, Leplos, but maybe with a translation, and then Lunatic High on the next two maps, because now they've set themselves up in a 2-2, and MY Leplos, they take it to Kings Row. And Kings Row, for those who aren't aware, is one of Lunatic High's favorite maps. Like, you kind of don't want to take them to Kings Row because of how good they are on it. And MY, they feel it's one of their good maps as well. So, it's a
It
little
was
bit
going
of
to be a
rolling the
showdown.
dice here.
Like, this is, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
a showdown. You couldn't ask for better, to be honest, though. Like, in terms of, heavy hitters
again,
coming down to it, basically.
MY, they started out really good, and then these next two maps, it's not that MY is playing that badly, Lepelos. It's just Lunatic High is playing like I expected them to start this series.
Only you wouldn't expect for Lunatic High on attack starting out with "Who are you" on the Pharah to do so much work.
I mean, again,
Pharah,
we're gonna go into the story,
Widowmaker.
Lepelos. So the story, I'm just gonna jump through to the good part here. Is that MY went on the attack first, but like the previous two maps, Lepelos, they were unable to cap things out. They got it into the final third, into the Foundry. They couldn't make that final push through to cap all 3 points. They were held to 2 points and 69.9 meters, I believe. Oh, wait, is that right? Or did...
I think Lunatic High attacked first, if I remember.
My goodness, my notes are... Now I feel so stupid. My notes are out of order. Okay.
I
This
could
is
be
what
wrong
happens
too.
when you have a light week.
Yeah, I know. I get lightheaded as well. But yeah, I think Lunatic High attacked first here. I mean, who are you? Just coming alive on the Pharah. Unlike I've seen him, like we've known his Pharah's being okay, serviceable. Like better than most. Not the top, but here showing weakness on the miraculous youngster side by coming out and just absolutely destroying them. Not only in the first phase, but Jax, that street phase too. Basically, one fight in street phase, and that one fight included, I think, a 2-kill barrage and maybe one other kill.
You know what this reminded me of?
Who are you?
I went back mentally to APAC last season, Rogue versus Lunatic High in the finals, when Rogue they were on King's Row on the attack, and Tavik brought out the Pharah. He didn't have a Mercy; it was just Tavik on the Pharah, and Lunatic High could not cope with it. Lepelos. They had, I think, Eska at one point they started with Lee Tae-jun was playing the McCree because Eska was on the Mei, and they stuck with it because because of ultimates, right? They didn't want to switch because of the ultimate gain, and then finally, Eska picked up the McCree and Lee Tae-jun went over, and basically, Tavik dominated. I mean, absolutely dominated with Pharah through the streets, through the first phase. On the streets, he switched off, but then he went back to it on final third, and Lunatic High just struggled to deal with Tavik's Pharah. And here, I'm saying to myself, Lepelos, where was this Pharah throughout the rest of OGN? I have never seen Who Are You look this good when he played this game. Even, listen, I'm going back to season 2 when he was MVP. His Genji was good. His Pharah was phenomenal, Lepelos.
Yeah. I mean, just taking apart Miraculous Youngsters like surgically here, in the first 2 phases is particularly right. Like,
I mean, they were running a triple tank with but they still had Yang Zhao on the McCree, so they did have a hit scan to try to deal with it, and the triple tank just wasn't that effective. The Roadhog wasn't getting it done. I'm still not. I mean, Roadhog has his places, but to me, starting with the Roadhog and not, it leaves you with a few options. Like once he's out there on King's Row, he's kind of stuck until you die or you full hold. They weren't gonna full hold with Who Are You playing this well, but from then, Lepelos, he switches off the Pharah and he goes Doomfist for the final third, Lepelos, and people are saying, Doomfist not viable anymore, Lepelos.
Well,
Doomfist doesn't work.
We had seen some Doomfist action earlier in the series as well, a little bit. I mean, he clearly has his space. He lands obviously with the support of Zephyr's Zephyr, Zarya.
I
Uh,
mean, you talking about the Space Jam that they use to push it in, but at one point, the highlight that's going around Reddit and things, he kills half the team, including the Lucio that he didn't. Everybody's like, no one really expected him to kill that Lucio. The Lucio didn't even expect to die. It's just random,
oh
like the
yeah,
random deaths that Doomfist throws out there. And I'm just saying to myself, where was this magic from Lunatic High in the regular season? Like Lepelos, I guess I know what the answer is. It's Fleeta, and we're focusing so much on who are you because of how great he is, but it's because Fleeta is doing so much. Lepelos, he's added so. I mean, he's literally the only difference that they have on this team. Okay, you have Zephyr places Zumba, but I personally think they'd be playing better with Zumba instead of Zephyr. Um,
yeah.
and it's what he brings on the soldier, and
And
it's
it's
just
finally additional support where you can't just focus who are you anymore, right? On this
yeah,
lunatic high side, now you have a second threat there. It's the same. It's the same thing that we used to talk about a year ago, or over a year ago, with Reaver and Surefour
yep,
on
it's the
Cloud
same
Nine
thing
back then.
with Misfits, where Tavik was playing so well, and then we felt Nevix
Nevix
just
was
was not
underperforming
there,
relative.
and
Yeah.
then he gets Logix, and now Tavik and Logix, that combo is so great. And you look at Taimu, right? Taimu, Tailspin, I like Tailspin, great guy, from how he portrays himself. Tailspin and Taimu, they did okay. I say okay. Yes, they had one of the longest winning streaks, but
I mean,
you
that
know,
was in Pharah meta too for
right.
Tailspin.
But
So
then you look at after Fair Meta to when Tailspin leaves to they get Effect Lepelos,
yeah,
and you look at Effect and Taimu, and you're just
the
these
difference.
DPS duos, man. It's like wow. And I'm just saying, if
Yeah,
this Lunatic High team could have played an OGN,
with
I
effect this season.
they
Yeah.
Lepelos, GC Busan would have lost, man.
I,
Like
yeah. There's no way. There's no way. I don't think like Envy would be back up there too. It would have been a different season. We can't comment. What we
I
can
know.
say, Jax, miraculous youngsters unable to really do much on their attack. I listen. They do get
Lepelos,
into that third phase. They do. But Jax, how do you feel about the Reaper coming out against this lunatic high
Leva,
composition?
how do you feel about Leave pulling out the Widowmaker in the final third foundry, trying to push it
Re-
through?
so let's talk about synergies of heroes. I mean, we had the Widowmaker from Lunatic High with the Doomfist. I think they're in the final third. Is that not correct? I think they were using that Widowmaker in the final third as well, right? But opposed to the Widowmaker Doomfist combo that Lunatic High, or was it McCree? I think I think they had the Widowmaker from previous, but they switched to McCree. So you talk about the synergy of McCree and Doomfist. You've got like one character that sort of stays close to the party, if you want to call it that. You know, close to the healers, close to the tanks. That's your McCree, the anti-flanker, and can hit from afar. Great. All right. And then you have Doomfist, which is a great disruptor, particularly if you're going to be running a Rhine Zarya combination. You have somebody that can dive and finish off kills, or get a pick, or provide a high mobility threat. Great. Okay, so let's look at what Miraculous Youngster did. They had a Widowmaker final third, which has limited angles and limited places to peek from,
Yeah.
and then they had a low mobility, high damage hero in the Reaper, which does not disrupt, does not have high mobility. Like, so
I mean,
getting into location is difficult. So your thought has to be, you use the Widowmaker to create a zone where the Reaper will kill people. And unlike Temple, as much as you might dislike this, at least in Temple of Anubis B point, you can create a zone where the Reaper can go and find people. Here in the final third, it's not as easy for the Reaper to get into the position where people are going to be hiding from the Widowmaker.
they had multiple iterations. Like one of them was with the Widow Reaper. One of them that I remember was with the Widow Tracer. And it's so the Tracer is fine. The
Tracer,
Reaper
yeah,
the Reaper can work. The problem that I have, Lepelos, is they're running the Widowmaker into Lunatic Highs, Winston, Diva, and Genji. With a Tracer, also diving to the back, messing with you all the time. It's too many things that work against you here.
yeah.
The Winston, he loves to jump on Widow. The Diva, she's high, high. I have defensive matrix. The Genji is deflecting while pressuring you. The Tracer is just being a nuisance so that you can't really focus on what you want to hit because you're trying to deal with this little gnat that's buzzing all around you. And for me, it was a little bit of Miraculous Youngsters falling into the Widow's trap here, and never really escaping. They tried. The Reaper actually does get a little bit done at the very end levels. He gets he gets the Death Blossom off. He gets a few kills, but the rest of his team is gone. You
Yeah.
know, and they fall short. And Lunatic High complete the reverse sweep here, and I don't. I wish I knew more about Miraculous Youngsters and their preparation for this, because I think they actually have the talent to beat this Lunatic High team who played
Absolutely.
very well here. It's just I don't know what the backroom staff is like for MY. It looked like they came out hot, right? They had their opener was really good, but the follow-up punch just wasn't there, or rather I should say the knockout punch wasn't there because
The seismic slam wasn't there. Right.
oh man, I mean it's just congrats to Lunatic High. I expected him to win going into this. I did not expect this series to be this close or this competitive. Miraculous Youngsters for me just showed it was to me his lack of experience. That's literally what this looks like to me. A lack of experience at playing at this kind of level. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But from the outside, from my own perspective, I think they've got some really good talent. I think the owner of the Shanghai Dragons would be mistaken if he plans on keeping a Chinese roster, which I'm almost certain he will.
Oh,
If
I
he
mean,
doesn't pick MY, I think he's making a serious mistake.
Jax,
Um,
how can you say that when we have so many tier 1 Western players available on Twitter?
Lepolos, I'm looking. Listen, I love the tanks from MY. I think they're. I honestly, I look at this team. This is a very. I'm serious. This is a very solid roster. I looked at this match and I'm saying, I'm not sure I would really want to replace anyone. Like, I don't. I could see how an Eileen would slip into this roster
Yeah,
from LGD, right? I
but
could see
as
how
as an
Eileen.
additional
But even then,
additional character though, right?
this is a
Like
good team here.
I agree with you. I absolutely do think this is a Overwatch League ready team. Uh, Maybe even more so than some of the others that we'll see announced. We can't really judge that until all of the rosters are announced. But
I mean,
I'm saying this is one of the top teams right now.
let's just take the roster though. So one, I think Envy would beat them because I think Coach Kai Kai would put in the work, and I think Envy's talent is that good. The Envy's playing so well right now. I
Yeah.
mean, this Lunatic High team, I think that would be one hell of a series. And I'm really mad that they're not playing at Apex.
Could
But
you,
I'm not going to go
Jax?
there.
Could you imagine if it was Kongdu versus Envy, in one side of the Seoul Cup, and the other side it was Lunatic High versus Miraculous Youngsters?
That
Like,
would be awesome. That
it-
would be so good, man. That would be so good.
well,
you
Jax,
have no idea.
I mean, this might be the Overwatch League playoff season 1. You know, that might be what happens. This is, I mean, if that's the case, then maybe the Overwatch League can make it, because those could be some awesome games if they're like this one here between the Miraculous Youngsters and Lunatic High. Jax, our time is getting up though, so we should okay. We have lots of time.
The reason why I even wasn't even pressing for time is this was for me. This was the match of the week, Leplos.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
I mean, so this was a semifinal and it was single elimination. So I actually wanted MY to win just because I wanted to see them go up against more foreign competition.
Yeah,
so I
me
wanted
too.
to see how they would play against C9 Kongdu. The final Lunatic High versus C9 Kongdu. Before this match was played, I would have said C9 Kongdu would beat Lunatic High.
Yeah.
Once this series was played, and I go back to how C9 Kongdu played against Jisoo Busan, I did not see how C9 Kongdu could beat them. So I guess if we're gonna give it a little bit of attention, which I guess is only fair since it was the finals of the event
Of the Seoul Cup, yeah.
we had some roster changes again for Lunatic High.
Yeah. We had Zephyr go back out against
Zephyr out, Zumba in,
Zumba back in.
Who are you out and Munchkin in?
Yeah, Munchkin fulfilling the Tracer role, and I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit by saying this. Jack's really good on that Tracer role.
I mean, Levelos, this is so, we saw a little bit of Munchkin when he was with Laser Kittens. There's a lot of drama going on that's out floating around there
I mean,
about,
just not a
his
good
time
fit. Let's just put it that way. Just not a good fit.
perfect. Absolutely perfect. See, Lepelos, this is why Lepelos is the PR man for the Overwatch Rundown.
Yeah, if you guys have any advertising
you
priorities, that's why we get all the advertisements that you guys listen to on our podcast. No, in all seriousness, it's just not a good fit, and it's exposure to a different culture. All these things came into play. Glad to see that he's on a top tier team though, Jax, because he looked like he should be on a top tier team.
Let's look at the numbers. Oasis 138, 116 for Lunatic High. Numbers speak for themselves. You go to Numbani Lepelos. I get why C9 Kongdu would go to Numbani. Well, one, it probably goes back to the season 3 finals where they lost game 7 on Numbani to that torn that Toby brought out.
I mean, definitely that's gotta hurt. But
here, Lunatic High has not been playing well on Numbani Lepelos. GC Busan in recent memory took 2 maps off of them here. We just saw MY full hold them here, Lepelos, so I get why C9 Kongdu would want to come here. Sadly, C9 Kongdu, they didn't cap it out. They didn't make it to
Jax.
the end of the map. Lunatic High did.
Yeah, C9 Kongdu can't do Numbani. Is that? No, okay. Volskaya Industries was next, Jax. This was actually went pretty long. It was finally Cloud9 Kongdu able to find traction here on Volskaya, but again 2CP, Jax, for this 4-3 win.
I was literally about to say congrats to them for getting a map, but this is 2CP.
Yeah.
2CP is just so random that you could just hit your stride and make it. And while C9 Kongdu did play very well here, it's 2CP.
It's
I
like
don't care.
It's about a single fight, like finding a pick in a single fight, and hopefully that will be enough. And while Lunatic High always has been a great team at stall, they didn't actually stall out that well here on Volskaya Industries. If I remember, the Cloud9 first attack here was ridiculously fast.
Yes.
And that sort of led to why this was such a victory for them.
Yeah.
And that's important. But yeah, okay. So that brought us back to another Dorado for the 4th map here, Jax. And well, Lunatic High did it again, 3-2 for the victory.
Lunatic High's ability. I mean, so if you go back to the series against MY, they lost the first 2 maps, right? But Horizon Lunar Colony, they prevented the full cap of second. So they got 1.85%. For Dorado, they made it 2 points at 65 meters. For Kings Row, they made it 2 points at 69 meters. I'm just going back to just give you a quick refresher. I'm pointing out that Lunatic High is not giving up full map completion. In these big tournaments, right? I think I said it when it came to Envy. One of the things I like about Envy is that they are closers, Lepelos. These are what champions do.
Yeah.
They get you there. They know, right? They may be, the classic saying, you might bend, but you don't break, right? Lunatic High, they bent a whole lot against MY. Against C9 Kongdu, Oasis, dominant. Numbani, they gave up 2 points. They did not give up the third. Volskaya, okay, 2CP. But then you come to Dorado Lepelos, it's more of the same. 2 points in 80 meters. 2 points in 80 meters is not 3 points. So that sets them up with a win condition. We held you, now we're going to come in and take it from you. And nothing, Lepelos, nothing highlights this more than at the very end here of Lunatic High's attack, when you have Rascal with the Dragon Blade, right? They're pushing. They have a full head of steam here. Rascal has a Dragon Blade. Dragon Blade is a very snowballish ultimate. It can go very well in your favor, except for when Ryu Jaehong domes you in the head with a Zenyatta Orb and kills you before you can do anything with it. Lepelos.
Yeah, incredible play. But I also have to say, too, having Zunba back in here on the Diva, like, he picked up and finished a number of kills here as well. Like, his... Zephyr strong, Zumba really good play as well. In here. Oh, I'm gonna run some numbers by you here because I'm here on Winston's lab just to give you a highlight of how well he performed as that off tank.
Okay.
So, Munchkin kill death plus 45, right?
God.
Plus 45.
Tracer though, it's not balanced.
Fleta plus 3.
Really? Only plus 3? Okay.
And keep this in mind, Zumba on Diva, so, keep that in mind that the death is going to be a little less. Plus 23 for Zumba. Zunba one less kill on his stat than Fleta. That's the difference. Munchkin had 70 kills, right? Uh, incredible, right?
Tracer though, it's not a balanced hero.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay, so let's go look at the other team though. Birdring. If you go by the stats, he had a +6, losing fights, right? So he only had 39 kills, though. Again, losing fights. Um, but what I
so
would say that is important is he managed to build up 30 ults, and if you compare that to Munchkin 28. So despite the loss, like Birdring
but you
probably
have to convert those pulse bombs though.
you do. There's two things here. That probably means you're not converting pulse bombs, which is unfortunate. You're also probably hitting above your weight in losing fights if you're able to build that many ultimates with this kind of a loss. So Birdring still performing very, very strongly. Rascal, if you look at the other DPS too, he had 20 ults comparative to, say, Fleta, who had 19
Right.
ults. Again, in the losing team. So listen, I'm trying to say Rascal, Birdring, despite what people might
But
say about their performances, they're still performing very well.
levels. But then I have to take you back to the Ryu Jae-hung kill, right? He built that ultimate. They needed that ultimate, and then he got domed in the head, dude. So they're building these ultimates, but they're not they're not converting kills off of them. And for
That's
me,
huge. Yeah.
ultimates are Overwatch is not, it's I don't want to say it's a game of ultimates, but at times it is a game of ultimate. In this situation here at the end of Dorado, Lunatic High, just like I said, they had a full head of steam. They needed, if he could kill Ryu Jae-hong to remove the Discord from the fight, because Discord, when you have Munchkin running around murdering everything on Tracer levels,
Yeah.
it's because the synergy was there. You know what that reminded me of a lot? Going back to early this year when Rogue came out of hibernation and you had Uncle with the Zen orbs, and you had Soon and Nico just dominating whatever he discorded. That's what was happening here. He
Yeah.
would put the Discord on, and then Fleta levels with those Helix rockets. Man, are you kidding me with some of that stuff
Yeah.
he was hitting?
So
No, dude, that's not right.
and
And
you
then you have Munchkin. He's like, "Hi, I'm Tracer.
yeah.
I blink, I rewind, I kill all your team." And you can't do anything about it because Blizzard says I'm balanced.
Yeah,
But
Munchkin going off is definitely probably the first standout difference in the match. So the other one, I mentioned Zumba Jax getting really good plus minus 43 kills, 20 deaths. Void, on the other hand, 25 kills, 35 deaths.
I take you back to the match against GC Busan. Void not playing. Listen, Void was the best diva in Korea
Back
season
in
3.
yeah.
I don't know what has happened. Oh, well, I do know what has happened. They figured him out, Leplos.
Yeah.
People were talking about how Miro got figured out. Void is not getting it done. And it's a huge part of why C9 Kongdu is struggling, Leplos.
I think part of
And
that
for
is
me,
the concept in season 4 has been a lot more shifted to taking out the diva a lot more, and I don't think the play out of Void and C9 Kongdu has adjusted to that well.
Leplos, but see, you say that was why they lost the finals.
Yeah.
They lost the finals because Lunatic High focused Void. Eska with the Sombra and with everybody else, they specifically wanted Void out of the game, Leplos. And it's still happening. Like, they're not adjusting to the diva pressure, and diva is moving more and more out of, I won't say out of the meta levels, but with the matrix changes, getting rockets, her role is changing somewhat, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll
And
see what happens in pro if she even gets picked as a result of this. I mean, I think there's still a place, but it's a smaller place ultimately.
I mean, Lepelos, I'm looking at this, and two things that I'm asking myself when it comes to divas. One, why did Lunatic High sign Zephyr? Unless literally you just want it because maybe Zumba might need a break. Like, if you just want to have that, that deep roster,
Secondary, yeah.
then okay. I don't see any reason for him. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean,
Zumba Zarya Leplos, he came in as the best Zarya in Korea. So you're not gonna bring him in for that. What is it? Maybe is he the Roadhog guy? Is that it? Is
who
that for
knows?
the Roadhog player? Like, they've always struggled with that.
We've talked about the importance of having depth to your team, or I think Zephyr is a good pickup from that standpoint, right? Like having a second tank player or a third tank player, right? So
Leplos, who's gonna play the Reinhardt? Miro's Reinhardt is.
Yeah, no, I mean,
okay.
maybe you can work that in to Zephyr's skill set if he's going to be the person sitting out on the bench for the first number of games. You have time to work on the heroes maybe where your weaknesses are. And that's the point of having a large roster. No longer are you suspected to or expected to fill every role the best at all times, right? So I don't know. We'll see what comes of it. Here though, Zunba, Munchkin, definitely the stars of the match, at least in my eyes, for Lunatic High as they take this win 3-1 over Cloud9 Kongdu to be the first winners of Seoul Cup.
Then let me ask you something, Lepelos. Where does Lee Tae-jun fit on this team?
Yeah, he doesn't. Maybe as a coach, Jax.
I mean, there are reports among the Reddit detectives that Lee Tae-jun will be the coach.
I mean, I could say
will be a coach. I should say the coach, coach.
I could say the same for Eska too, right? Like in general, it's clear that he has good leadership qualities. They've talked about that a lot apparently. Yeah. And when you have those kinds of skills, just because maybe you're not okay. First off, Eska could still be a strong player on a number of teams, or maybe even Lunatic High too, right? Just because he may not be ready for the Overwatch League #1 spot DPS doesn't mean that both his leadership skills and what skill he does have is not ready for OGN. Like you look at him, he's still better than some of the OGN DPS on other teams.
We talk about those intangibles, right? Leadership, and in-game voice levels. I remember Runaway Season 3 when they were trying to transition Runner out as Lucio because, while Runner is an okay Lucio, he's not, a top-tier Lucio. Let's just be honest. But they had to bring him back for a few games because of his leadership, right? And you see it when Runner comes into the booth when they have those tactical timeouts. You see how they respond to him, Lepelos. You see how he interacts with them, and I could easily see Eska doing the same, and perhaps the same for Lee Tae-jun since he's friends with the core of Lunatic High. But then, Lepelos, I take you over to C9 Kongdu. We haven't heard much. But roster talk about them, or what Jack and the Cloud9 franchise plan on doing with Team London, but I'm looking at this team, and you're saying, well, yeah, Jax, but they were dominating in OGN up until they met GC Busan, and it just reminded me so much of AF Blue the previous season, where AF Blue won 15 games in a row. They didn't really play anybody, Lepelos.
Yeah, no,
it's Kongdu is now playing people, and the people they're playing are beating them.
Jax, I'm also a little worried about Cloud9's history with what they've done with their teams in terms of player development. I mean, honestly, tell me what team what players of theirs have grown under their supervision.
In Overwatch, I
can
only speak to Overwatch.
Yes, speaking of
grown. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think we might have even seen a decline in Sure4 Lepelos.
I'm not. I would agree with you, but that's over the long term. I mean, obviously, in the early days of the game when the Cloud9 team was really sort of core and knew each other, they improved to be competitive at that point in time. Since season 1 of OGN, whether they competed in, I think we've seen a continual drop off of was it season 1 or season 2? I can't remember even now. But Cloud9 has in all of their iterations, though, right? Because they picked up what? They picked up Laser Kittens for contenders, right? And then that team didn't perform at the level that Laser Kittens was performing previously.
I mean, in the middle of contenders, they got told that he's buying this full Korean team, so that's pretty much their best bet at Overwatch League gone.
Yep.
But I forget who was one of the players. I forget who it was. They talked about it on stream, and he says, "Listen, Cloud9, they never promised us Overwatch League. So it's not that they knew they had a chance, right? But it was never promised to them.
Yeah. So they still had to work
looking at it,
but...
and I want these rosters out, dude, because I'm looking at them saying, I'm looking at some of the moves that are being made and the players that are getting picked up, and I'm saying, Lunatic High, Lepelos. When I look at Munchkin, I'm saying, well, crap, they just stole him. And I'm
Absolutely.
But then again, DPS is not their weakness. Like Birdring and Rascal, as you said, they build the ultimates up very quickly, which means they're doing the damage.
Yeah.
Doing damage.
I mean,
Fisher is a good tank. Void, I think the biggest weakness is Void right now.
It's the team play aspect right now. I think they've got to work on that. So maybe the coaching needs to work a little bit harder on getting their team play aspect, because Void's death is partly part of that. Bidozin has some issues, I think, too.
He's got some work.
If I was to change one player, He's the first person I would change on Cloud9
Oof,
Kongdu
Lepelos is
if I was.
firing Bedosin. You heard him here, Lepelos.
Listen, we're independents here, Jax, with our own independent pocketbooks, and we're not being paid out of the industry. Everyone, we get to say what we want.
I mean, while
You
I
could
would
say
like a
we're
paycheck,
renegades here, Jax, right?
I still would not want a paycheck if I can't say what I want. That's
Yeah,
that's just how I am. For those who know me,
absolutely, and that's how we're gonna do it. And here, Jax, I'm gonna be that person too. Bedozen, if you go back to their GC Busan games, I think even in our short coverage of it, I mentioned how he got picked off a number of times. Importantly, particularly on the first map, King of the Hill, as a mercy with Res Up twice on 2 different rounds that cost him that first map.
I remember.
Horrible play. You want to see better out of him. He has skill. I mean, if you look from the stats from their Lunatic High match, his kills were not too dissimilar than Ryu Jae Hung's overall, right? But his clutch play is not there, and that's something. I mean, that's fundamental play that you have to work on to eventually build the confidence and the presence of mind to be able to do that at the clutch times. That's what I feel like Bedozen needs, and if you don't do that and get him that kind of coaching, then he's not going to grow into what he could become, right? And they're not going to grow either as Cloud9 Kongdu into a top tier Overwatch League team. Jax, we're talking about OGN.
Lepelos,
but let's go ahead and talk about OGN Apex.
Here. I don't even really want. Okay, fine. Lepelos is gonna make me talk about these games.
Just a little bit, because they weren't. There's 2 games. Let's go ahead and talk about the first semifinal here, the second semifinal of OGN Apex Season 4 playoffs, and that's Runaway versus NC Foxes. Jax, dominant performance. You want to say
Lepelos,
that?
I watched this. Let's just take Ilios 2-0 Runaway, Nambani 3-2 Runaway, Temple of Anubis 2-1, Dorado 2-1.
All Runaway.
NC Fox is completely out. I mean, I just, like I said, it's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's just, it's no need. Runaway completely destroyed this team.
Yeah, they're looking good, Jax. We've got a final coming up between GC Busan and Runaway. Before we talk about predictions, though, let's go ahead and just talk about the second match, which was a 3rd place match here between Cloud9 Kongdu and NC Foxes. Cloud9 Kongdu coming off of their loss against GC Busan, and then of course on the weekend from the Seoul Cup, their loss against Takai. Maybe that's going to affect them, but NC Foxes, having played them previously, I think if I remember correctly, in group stage 2, I believe, off the first match.
Group stage 2, yeah.
They got 3-0'd in that. In Jax, let's be honest here and do the rundown. 2-1 Ilios for Cloud9, 3-2 Nambani, Cloud9, 2-1 Horizon Lunar Colony, Cloud9, and 4-3 Dorado. In a very close one, actually. NC Fox is at least trying to keep it
but again, Lepelos
until the second attacks. But 4-0 as the map scores go for Cloud9 Kongdu in this 3rd place match.
I have to take you back to what I said. Who are the teams that C9 Kongdu is beating, Lepelos? It doesn't. They're going into Overwatch. Lepelos, okay, so that you beat NC Foxes. Oh, okay, fine. You beat NC Foxes. I mean, you beat Lucky Future Lepelos. Oh, okay, fine. I wish more than ever that MY had made it through, because I don't think they beat MY, Lepelos.
I don't think so either. I wish. Yeah, I agree with you. I wish the matches were flipped, right? Like I wish we, because like you knew Lucky Future was not going to make it through. First off, I wish Lucky Future was subbed by Envy, but again, we're not talking dreams.
What a series that was!
I mean, we're talking about this again. We already talked about this. I agree with you, Cloud9 Kongdu not facing the strongest competition is probably being their own. That's an issue for them ultimately, and I think that may cost them at least a few matches into the Overwatch League at this point.
I'm going back through their record. I'm going back through their record from August when OGN started. So they beat Kongdu Untia, their sister team, 3-1. They beat NC Foxes 3-0 Lepelos. They beat Flash Lux 3-1. That to me is a failure because they gave them
I remember
Flash Lux.
And that's not a good sign.
So then you go into Group Stage A, right? They beat Combox. Okay, 3-0. It's Combox. They beat NC Foxes for the second time, Lepelos. Okay, it's 3-0. And then you drop down to the semifinals. Well, they lost to GC Busan, who beat their, Lunatic High. Then they go into the Seoul Cup. They beat Lucky Future. No one is surprised by that. But then they get beat rather handedly by Lunatic High. And then they come into this third place game, and look, they beat NC Foxes for the third time in the same tournament, Lepolos.
Yeah. I mean, it is sort of...
They haven't played anybody, Lepolos, and the teams they played beat them. Lepolos, they can't beat Envy. I don't think they can beat Envy. I don't think they could beat
I mean, are they the
MY.
AF Blue Jacks of
RDA
Season 4?
would probably give them a run for their money, Lepolos.
Yeah, that's a good question,
I think
actually.
Gigante would probably beat them. I mean that. I think Misfits would probably beat them if Logix, figures out whatever was wrong with him on that land. Maybe it was bad food in LA. I don't know.
So,
but going into Overwatch League, Lepolos, they got some work to do, man.
Jax, my question to you then is, do you rank X6 Gaming number 9 in the world?
Lepolos, don't go back to that. Don't go. Lepolos going back to something we have talked. That being said, Lepolos, so third place in OGN Season 4, Sinan Kongdu. I mean, congrats. It's a win, right? So it's a bronze place win. It's more, I think you get more for third than you do for fourth, right?
Yep.
You get 14,000 US for fourth. You get 10 for third. You get 10,000 for fourth. So congrats to Sinan Kongdu. Third place finish in OGN. I'm pretty sure they wanted to number 1. But that sets us up, Lepolos, on October 21st.
It's a
DC
rematch.
Busan versus Runaway. This last one, Lepolos,
I'm interested in it.
It went 5, Lepolos.
It went 5 in the it went 5 in Group B.
Of Group Stage 2.
Group Stage 2 of the upper bracket final.
Yeah.
Of that, Jax, this is a best of 7 finals. I'm excited. I think it's going to be pretty close, Jax.
This could
overall.
go 7.
This could go all 7
because I don't want to cover 7. This could go 7.
Well, Jax, is it going to be another light week? I mean, maybe we can, but anyways, I do want to go 7.
GC Busan is playing so well right now, Lepolos.
Yeah, no,
I love Runaway. I love Runaway. I love Runner. I love this team. I'm not sure I could pick against GC Busan how they've been playing.
Let's go back just for a second and review what happened in the
Lepolos.
Runaway versus GC Busan game in the 3-2 win over there, and talk.
This was a month. Lepolos, it's literally a month. So they last played on September 22nd.
Yeah.
They're gonna play again on October 21st. So a month in between.
It's still
the same patch.
And I want to just highlight. I want to highlight the scorelines here of Runaway on their map victories. It was 3-2 on Kings Row, 4-3 on Horizon Lunar Colony, 3-2 on Hollywood. So they won 2 hybrids and the 2CP in pretty close fashion.
Right.
You flip the side, GC Busan 2-0 Lijiang Tower, 3-0 Route 66.
Yeah.
So King of the Hill payload in dominant fashion.
If I remember that Hollywood correctly, I think GC Busan ran out of gas.
Yeah.
But for me,
but that's concerning in a best of 7, though.
But see, Runaway learned this themselves because they ran out of gas against Lunatic High in the Season 2 finals. That went 7 and they failed.
So they have that experience
I think
too.
Busan at Lepolos. And you gonna pick against Prophet? How good is Prophet is playing like a legit tier 1 tracer, not someone who just writes tier 1.
Yeah.
He's legit playing like a legit tier 1 tracer.
He's got independent analysts such as us saying he's a tier 1. He's not doing it himself. We're tier 1 analysts here. That's not legit.
I'm asking you right now, GC Busan or Runaway, who wins it?
I'm going to go with Runaway because of their previous Grand Finals experience, their previous win. Their the fact that they have a desperation that sort of got them through previously. I think GC Busan, if they're going to take it, they're going to be dominant in a 4-0. If they're going to lose, which I am suspecting they will, it's probably going to go pretty much all the way. And they're going to get tired in the later stages. So they might win a couple early rounds, probably the first round at least. And as the maps go on and the event goes on, I suspect
GC,
Runaway will be figuring them out / have that stamina.
Listen,
so
I want Runaway to win. I am picking GC Busan. Lepolos, I'm sorry, Tracer is the carry right now, and unless the nerves just come out of nowhere and just and Profit does not perform. DC Busan is playing very well. I want to say 4-2 for them in the finals here. But the thing that makes me sad though, Lepelos, if Profit has a good series, he will be poached. If he's not already being poached.
He better be poached by somebody, Jax. I think he should be on an Overwatch League team if he can continue this play, and Tracer has no signs of being nerfed anytime in the future.
I mean,
so.
I like Runaway, dude. I like Runaway so much. I saw a runner with a post, saying, "Hey, Runaway, looking for Overwatch League team. Someone come buy us out."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I can even find a replacement for Hacksaw, who I'm sorry to say, Leplos, if they were to get picked up, Hacksaw's too young to play."
You know who might be good?
You know
Profit.
drive me mad, Leplos? Hacksaw's too young to play. Who are you too young to play? LW Blue, right? The New York franchise just snatched up LW Blue at the start of season 3. Guess what? Flower, too young to play. Sinatra, Leplos, believe it or not, he won't be able to play till the middle of next year. Why? He's too young to play. Come on, man. As long as the parents sign a little permission slip, let them play, dude. Or is it? Oh,
take away from settings.
Listen,
I don't know
what
their
to
attitudes
see
are.
the best, Leplos. I'm tired of it. It's always something that's preventing me from seeing the best. I want to see the best play this game.
So, Jax, while we're talking about that, okay, we've made our OGN predictions for the grand finals that are coming up later this week. Jax, while we're talking about the best, we do have to talk about Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro round 7. Here we go.
Please. All right. For those who I literally have not clicked this link. I just copy and pasted it. I don't know what the results
Jax.
are. I'm going to take a look at round 7 and why.
Okay, so the joke, everyone, here is the fact that in 7 weeks of play of 4 games a week, we've had 1 game that was not a 2-0.
And why 1-1 draw is even possible is mind-boggling. But go ahead.
I mean, that's basically all there is to say. The big game this week that was of the first and most important one was between Brazil and Gaming House and Keep Gaming. Unfortunately, 2-0 here for Brazil Gaming House. They tried. It was close on Kings Row, 4-3.
And then I guess at that point they threw up the white flag, said, Nepal, you got it. Take it.
Yeah. The other big one this week, I think, was between Uprising and WS Esports. This was battle for 3rd place. Or tied for 2nd, rather.
Wait, was that? No, they didn't. This says Uprising played NL Black. Oh God, who is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I misclicked. Yeah, no, actually that was 2 weeks ago. My bad. Every other game here, nothing too unsurprising. Uprising 2 over NL Black. DBS Esports 2 over Avance, and Dogma 2-0 over 6. I guess that one.
It's one of the only things going on down in South America, Lepelos. But I mean, literally, 2 people. If you just, I'm gonna paste it in chat, so anybody who's looking at the VOD, you can just go and take a look at this. It's 2-0 every week. Like, there's no competition here. There's no competition.
Speaking of no competition, Jax, let's go ahead and move over to Europe, where we had the Asus Republic of Gamers, or ROG Tournament 2017 GameXpo regular season action. Over in Finland.
What happened there, Lepelos, as if I don't know?
Okay, well, we know Gigante here playing their 3 games finally. Won all of them 2-0. The biggest story of this week, though, would probably be the matchup between ENCE and Helsinki Reds. That's sort of defining about who would end up in that 2nd place. And unfortunately for Helsinki Reds, in this close 2-1 matchup, it was ENCE winning out, particularly with a dominant performance on Temple Anubis.
They started out well. They took Hollywood, then they lost to Anubis in Route 66. But, there's still the playoffs to come, Lepelos. Wait, is this the finals of the group stages?
Yeah, that was the last week of regular season play, it looks like.
Okay,
playoffs.
Yeah, if you click the playoff tab, Lepelos, which is it being played this week?
No, November is in 2 weeks and 2 days. So
after the World Cup, then.
Yeah, I thought the World Cup was like November. I think it's before.
This is the same time as the World Cup, isn't it?
I'd have to double check it. I think so.
I'm clicking links right now, but
I think so, which is sort of weird for Team Gigante. But either way, the playoffs start with the teams 2 and 3, which is ENC Esports and Helsinki Reds facing off against each other once again.
This makes no
So
sense. It's on November 3rd and 4th, and the World Cup is on November 3rd and 4th. I mean, okay. Well, I mean,
Team
Team
Finland
Finland
is no
they didn't
longer.
make it
Yeah,
level,
they didn't. So
so
they're available to
I guess
play.
that's why it works. But
Yeah,
okay.
it's we'll have additional stuff to cover that weekend. Okay. Either way, I think Team Gigante's got this all the way through, Jack. So
I think so too.
that leaves us with the our final coverage item for the day, which is the bi-monthly Brawl Season 1 Division 1 in the Australian New Zealand region.
Okay.
We're just going to go over some of the standings here, where Four Legs remains at 6-0 standing at perfect score, having only dropped 2 maps in total. They're up top. Closest team, Darksided, sits at 4-2. And this season, we have a lot of teams in the middle with 3-3. Those are Masterminds Blue, Scylla Esports, Atletico, and Masterminds GC, all sitting at 3-3. Unfortunately, Sin Gaming and the Project sitting in 7th and 8th place, respectively, with 2-4 and 0-6 scorelines. It's a lot of Jacks. There's a lot of middling teams here. I shouldn't joke about that, but no, it means that there's a lot of competitiveness here in that, where these teams are struggling to try and get any win from any other team, essentially, at this point. There's very few free wins or expected losses. So we're going to keep our eye out on this one as it continues.
Being about the only expected loss. We'll see. This is what, week 3 of week 7, so we've got a long ways to go.
Yep.
I'm trying to look to see if there's anything really good happening this upcoming week. Nothing is standing out to me. I guess you have Darkside versus Scylla, the 2 versus the 4.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
One of the middle matches.
Yeah.
The other one too would be to see if Darksiders can. Yeah, the Darksiders versus GC, but also Blue, Masterminds Blue taking on Atletico.
We'll see. Like I said, I have one of my eyes on it. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for the rundown, Jax. Next week, obviously, we have the finals of OGN coming up, which we discussed.
Yeah.
Is the APAC next week?
Apex starts. APAC goes from the 19th to the 29th, so we have 10 days of APAC levels. We do start the group stages next week. If you, I think it's the second link in our schedule. I do want to point out though, for APAC, we have Miraculous Youngsters 1246, GC Busan, and Runaway will all advance directly to the playoff stage of APAC levels. Jason Kaplan has also tweeted about a couple hours ago. APAC will be played on the patch that went live today, Lepelos. Double revive for Mercy. You know, she's got the double revive right now. We'll see how the casters. This also includes the Lucio speed boost, because Lucio it was a bit of a bug, right?
Yeah.
So they boost his speed boost to 65%, which should put him back to around to where he was.
Yeah, post bug fix, they had an issue, and now they re-added speed to him to make up for that bug fix. I mean, that's good. I'm glad that they're making these changes.
Lepelos, you said it. How are these teams supposed to prepare, man?
I mean, listen, this is going to be the fuck it, we'll do it live
Lepelos,
language.
This is a oh my. Yeah.
Sorry, but I mean, pretty much that's what this is. So, Jax, like you're exposing these teams to variable conditions, and you're saying just go play
these
live.
Are the testers, because Blizzard doesn't want the World Cup to go down without this having been played on. They did not want to have the World Cup come around and have some disaster because of this patch, so they'll have 2 weeks of this before the World Cup to figure out any issues. I do want to just break down the groups right quick for a quick APAC preview. In Group A, Envision Esports, Flash Wolves, MVP Space, and Vici Gaming, Lepelos.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, I'm actually excited about both groups, but particularly this group is going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out with Flash Wolves. For me,
I've seen a lot of Envision. I want to see what Envision has. Yes, Numlocked is out. They brought in a new tank, but still, I'm not going to give them a free pass because of that. Envision started contenders very well. Lepelos ended rather poorly, and I want to know what Envision is made of, right? Like, you're not facing Envy, you're not facing, the big dogs. I mean, Vici Gaming, we've already covered it. Vici can beat almost any team in China on any weekend if they feel like it. MVP Space, Lepelos, let's be honest, middling. Flash Wolves, Lepelos, Ardian beat the crap out of them. And let me ask you this, Lepelos, why is Ardian not in this tournament?
Again, this tournament is not for the top teams of
Lepelos.
anyone but China.
Please, dude.
That is the honest truth.
Why is the OPC champion not here?
This is a second tier tournament. As much as money as there is,
$90,000 for first place.
As much money as there is in this is an invitational, and they selected clearly not the top teams out of
Lepelos.
Regions other than China.
You're killing me, Lepelos.
I'm just stating how it is. Like, no, this is clearly the tournament organizers and Blizzard, or I'm not sure if it's Blizzard.
There's no reason not to have Ardian here, Lepelos. I want to know how they match up against MY and against Runaway, against GC Busan.
Yeah.
I don't know how good they are, man.
I feel sorry whoever ends up in the upper bracket, because those teams are going to be going out at best in the semifinal, as Miraculous Youngsters is going to make their way for a dominant performance to victory here. That's my expectation here,
The big thing for me from Group A that I'm looking at, Envisions versus Flash Wolves, I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see.
All of Group A, Jax. All of Group A, very exciting. Group B, though, Freak of Freaks, HQ Esports, Blank Esports, Miracle Team 1. How do you feel about this one?
I thought I was done with AF Blue when they went out early in OGN.
No, they're back. They're back here.
Why are they here, Lepelos?
They're here as a litmus test for Blank Esports and HQ, I think, to see if these teams can beat an actual Korean team.
If AF Blue doesn't win this group, AF Blue needs to be rebuilt.
I agree with you, particularly after we've seen such dominance in the OPC region from Ardian. If Afrika Freaks can't do what Ardian did, then they definitely need to be looking at both their roster and their coaching staff.
My memory might be faulty, but in that big file battle royale that was going on a few months ago in the summertime, AF Blue, this was back when they still had Mono.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how big a part of AF Blue Mono was. And, because Mono left to go play with LW Blue and make that big Overwatch League money, and AF Blue just not the same. But AF Blue with Mono beat the crap out of Ardian and Lepelos. I mean, 4-0 stomp.
Yeah.
And now I look at how Ardian then went from there to beat the crap out of everybody at OPC. And so AF Blue, bit of a test here, right? Like, I'm sorry, you got to take first place in this group, Lepelos.
They do, absolutely. I have that exact same feeling, Jax. That said, Group B is not as interesting to me as that Group A is, simply by the drawing of the teams. But we'll see what comes of this one, Jax. Hopefully,
first week is all group stages. I think second week is when we get into the playoffs, where as I said, the playoffs start October 26th, Lepelos.
Yeah.
Which Miraculous Youngsters, 1246, GC Busan, and Runaway, all. So we'll know who the winner of OGN is, because that final is on the 21st. So they'll have 5 days to prepare on this current live patch level. See, this is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
OGN is like 4 patches behind.
Yeah.
And now they have to come play this big tournament on live?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be sort of all over the place for some of these teams. But Jax, that really... Oh, sorry. That really wraps it up for this week, I think.
This is supposed to be a short podcast. It's 90 minutes.
This is what happens, Jax, when I don't move the conversation along.
Oh, man.
This is what happens when you just let us talk, and our advertisers let us talk at will. So I want to thank all of our advertisers.
Man.
I know. In all honesty, it's good to sit down and talk. Obviously, do appreciate doing
this
that.
Week. That's all. Yeah. That's all there was. A lot of Seoul Cup talk. I hope you guys liked it. Those of you who made it this 90 minutes. If you didn't watch Seoul Cup, specific. Listen. If you had to watch one game from Seoul Cup, you gotta watch MY versus Lunatic High. I believe that is a preview of a potential Overwatch League matchup. Shanghai Dragons owner, I know you listen to Overwatch Rundown because you want the best reporting
and independent analysis to support
you need to
your
sign
decisions.
MY. Like, I'm sorry, Lepos. There's nothing. If you want to poach a few players from other teams, fine. But you need MY to form the base of your Shanghai Dragons team, and
they will do well.
Yeah. You then need to bring in some serious coaching here. The talent is there, Lepos. The talent is there. I'm not so sure about the coaching.
I
But
agree.
this
Yeah.
is what, episode 58, Overwatch Rundown. You can catch us on Twitter at OW Rundown. He's at Lepelos. I'm at Jax, JAX_Blake. You can catch us on twitch.tv/Lepelos every Tuesday night around 9 or 9:10 p.m. Pacific, where we air the broadcast live. You can sit and talk with us in chat, paste your emotes. I think Lepelos also uploads it to his YouTube channel. Just look up Lepelos on YouTube. Is there anything else I'm missing, Lep?
I think that's pretty much everything off the end. Yeah, thanks for sticking in there, everyone. We'll catch you again next week with some more action. Although I guess next week.
I mean, Lepelos, we'll be back in Korea. OGN Finals. We'll be going to China for APAC, and I think that's it. If I'm honest.
Yeah, it's still going to be maybe a bit of lighter week, but listen, we're always heavy on the podcast, so don't worry.
All right.
Don't worry.
Thank you. See you next week. The 90 minutes, Lepelos. Oh man.
Jackson always talks over the music. You always talk at the end, no, which is fine.